conversation for the longest time. I think you were out
Yeah.
for so long.
Yeah. For the publication. Yeah.
So tell me more about the publication. I think your artwork got published in the London publication.
Yeah.
How was that like? What was your experience?
So it actually came across very like out of nowhere. It wasn't planned. It was nothing, that was sent out or something. It was just a piece that I prepared for a show that happened in Rome in 2019.
Okay.
And apparently one of the editors was there at the show, and she saw the piece and they got in touch with me saying we'd like to publish it in the magazine. And actually I was taken by absolute surprise. I didn't expect a publication to come my way. And yeah, this is the first time when my artwork is published internationally, right? And they really loved the idea. So the painting was called Self-Consumed.
Self-consumed.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it talks about the concept of how we as human beings and artists are so consumed by the thought of ourselves. And everything that we do in life, and as we go around with smaller things, everything leaves an imprint on us. Whether it's the activities we do, the people we meet, the work that we do, the food that we eat,
Right.
everything. And eventually you're just consuming yourself.
Okay.
So,
Interesting.
Yeah.
Coming back to this conversation again, I think Amul, you're wearing many hats at one time. You're an artist, you're an interior architect, and you build homes.
Yes.
So what's the motivation behind building homes?
So as an interior architect, we have a lot of options to work from. Like we can do offices, retail, hospitality, spas, XYZ. But out of the whole, I find home, I think building houses is very, very close to my heart. Now this also stems from my childhood, where I grew up with a grandfather who always taught every one of us, including me, where he's like, as a human being, you as a human being and your work should always feel like home to other people. Also, building home comes with a lot of personal, emotional attachment to that concept. So as an artist, because I have spent a lot of my teenage years trying to figure out what is home for me, in just definition, not actuality. So watching people come up with houses, and when we're designing the house, you really get to know them as people, you just understand them as people, their choices, and how, even basic fabric choices stem from like a childhood reference or a cultural reference, and their design and color choices. And it's a very interesting space to be in. Second of all, it's a very time consuming process.
Correct.
So I get to spend personal time when I'm doing someone's home, and I really like that. Like I don't like working on spaces which is just like you go, you pick up stuff, you put it.
Yeah, you want to get into the skin.
I just want to. So for example, if I'm doing your home, I first want to know you as a person.
Correct.
Then can I build a space that will resonate with you?
Does it give you a sense of comfort when you're doing this?
Yes, it gives me a sense of comfort. It gives me a sense of inclusion, which I think I have been searching for a very, very long time. So yeah, it puts me in that very good space. So, and this has also been my approach with my artworks. So when I do commissioned art pieces for a particular person, I spend a lot of time knowing my client and understanding them and understanding what they want when they come up with a particular piece that they specifically want. And after that, the artwork happens. So similarly with homes also, I follow the same approach. And usually when I'm addressing this to a new client or like a prospect or something, I always address it as, I'm going to be curating your home.
Correct.
I'm just going to help you put together what you already know is yours or feels like what is yours.
Yeah. It looks like you're creating from a lot of heart, and that also shows in your artwork. What was your inspiration? I understand that everything that you touch, you want to bring out a sense of yourself in it. So how do you manage to do this in your art, and how do you touch it with your art?
So I think I got introduced to art very early on. Like I was 4 years old when I started painting, and probably my parents wanted me to do that as a extracurricular activities so that my energy is managed somewhere. But I think I came across a beautiful human being in the form of my teacher, and I saw her being so different with the kids, and she would be patient, absolutely patient, and would teach with so much love, and she never taught me. She would let me do what I want, and then she would just show me how it can be made better in terms of skill set.
Right.
But if I would walk into that class and be like, today I don't feel like painting, she would be like, okay, don't paint. So that naturally built the foundation for me to follow my gut or my instinct or what I really want to do. And I frankly believe that artists are scientists. We just come from a perspective of a lot of social experiments, then experiments in a lab.
Why do you say that? Why do you say that?
So if you study any of these artists, if you just read about their lives, so be it someone who's as well known as Pablo Picasso, if you see his personal life to me on a personal front looks like one big experiment. So if you see his personal space, he was painting everything that he was going through emotionally, be it losing a close friend, be it moving countries, be it the revolution that was happening around him, be it the fall of a government, or be it multiple lovers that he's had.
Right.
So all of them from varied age groups to occupations to the way they were as women, everything at the end of the day would culminate into his art, would show in his art. So everything that he's living looks like one big social experiment. And similarly, on the other end, if you look at someone like Salvador Dali, who is one of the most well-known surreal artists, who started it off in some ways, he had just one lover, which is quite strange for today's definition of an artist. You have to have like a harem of people around you or something. But for him, it was just one person, but he would want to explore something as simple as pleasure on different levels, on different scales. And he would not just so when we talk about it, we go like, oh, I want to read and travel and go for a swim with that person or something like that. He would actually practice hypnosis with that person, and it was on a different level in that sense, but it's still exploration.
Correct.
And I think artists cannot explore without another human being to interact with. Like you cannot be in a lab and have a few chemicals put on the dish and something is happening. No, we need emotions. So we're practically constantly experimenting with people and their reaction to our emotions or our vibe. The word that is taken off in today's generation is like, oh, the vibe. But it's true, because energy is such a real thing. The exchange of energy is such a real thing, and not a lot of people understand it or value it or take it that seriously. But everything we do leaves that impact on us. Probably the artists just feel it more or are probably able to express it in some form more than the others.
Are they more attuned with themselves, and that's why do you think that they can express it a little more?
Could be, but I think they're just a lot more expressive. They're just a lot more. They just know how to put it across. So it's just like somebody who can talk about their emotions and someone who can't. So the person who can just knows how to frame what he's feeling.
Correct.
So that's an artist. So I can paint what I'm feeling.
Right.
For a dancer, it'll be the same. For a musician, it'll be the same. But for someone who's not, and there are a lot of art forms besides the ones that I'm mentioning. I'm just mentioning the mainstream ones. So I think each individual has their own way of expressing. It's just that artists tend to practice it a lot more evidently than the other people, or practice it consciously because it naturally keeps them aligned with their feelings. And I think that's very important. I think that's like children are more artistic before their brain just takes over their life.
I think they're not afraid to feel what they're feeling and express it. And as artists, I think you need to somehow keep that part of you alive,
Yeah.
which also makes life really beautiful. And some of the artwork and the expressions happen, they're so like, you can't even articulate or put a word on this emotion. It's just this artist's expression. So what's your best art piece, or what's your favorite art piece?
So there is one piece that I worked on in 2017, which happens to be a commission piece for somebody. But when I was going through that, I was going through a lot in my personal life as well. And I think that just came up. Also, that commission piece became an escape for me in that space, and helped me, bring out everything that I was feeling, which probably I couldn't say out.
Right.
So it's very, very close to my heart in that sense. And I think that was my first introduction to my own feminine energy. Because I grew up in a household with a lot of boys around me, so I would naturally start behaving like one of them, and that also probably felt a lot more effortless to me than because accepting your own energy as a woman takes a lot out of you, is what I feel.
Has your art changed you?
A lot in a lot of ways actually. So the way I speak now, the way my body language is, the way I would probably look at something that does not work for me right now, but is in front of me. So yeah, in a lot of ways, it actually changes how I actually behave with a lot of people. So yeah, so my interactions have changed. The way I approach to someone's, of how I would take someone's reaction has changed. Now it's become more like I'm just observing. I'm just even if like for example, like right now I'm too involved in this conversation. But probably if we were just having a very superficial, brushed up conversation, I could easily step back and just observe you.
Right.
So I started doing that on a regular basis, whether I'm on site where there are a lot of carpenters and artists and site like contractors. It's very interesting to just observe them. You can just look at their body language and just know what's happening.
Yeah. You spoke about energy exchange sometime back, and you say that you're exchanging energies on a constant basis, and that you pour into your work, and that shows in your art. So I think you as a person should be even more guarded because it's affecting you so much.
Yeah.
But when you're open, like that space where you're open to exchanging energies and still only you're kind of filtering it, how do people maneuver that?
It's very overwhelming. When I say energy exchange, a basic conversation can be a form of energy exchange, and sexual activities or even touch in that sense is energy exchange, even if you don't think so. But it doesn't. The world doesn't function like that. And so coming from a place of whether it's a lot of close friends or family or partners that you've had, all of them leave impressions on you. And they can leave impressions on you not because of the amount of time you spent with them, but because there has been energy exchange emotionally, physically, mentally, in any other form that you've indulged in. And when that happens, you tend to carry that becomes a part of your personality. Naturally, that shows in your art. So yes, as an artist, it's very overwhelming because you're constantly meeting so many people. That's why most of the artists tend to also be in seclusion. Yeah. But also, coming from a place of like in my personal opinion, I think your partner is probably the most amount of impression on you, and that's what I've seen in my art. And some energies work for you, some energies really make you go crazy. Some energies really change you from the inside, and I think it's beautiful. But now because I'm in this space, I can say that probably when you're going through it, you have a lot on your plate to even want to think that, oh, this is such a great idea. But like we come from Hindi movies, Bollywood movies, where there's always this constant reference given ki You become a good artist once your heart is broken. It's
That
not.
could be true though.
In some ways, yes,
Yeah.
but it's not like that. Like in my personal experience, what I feel is when I went through that, I saw a huge change in me as a person, and then naturally because of that, as an artist,
Right.
I became more calmer. I learned to take a step back when it got overwhelming. I learned to make more space for my own emotions and emotions for someone else.
You evolve emotionally.
Yes, a lot.
That's great.
I also saw a lot of change in my work. Like I naturally became more patient. Because you become more patient, your craft becomes finer.
Right.
Just naturally.
Correct.
Because you're more patient, you pay more attention to finer details. Because you become more patient or you become more attuned to how you're feeling, you are not in a rush to finish a piece.
Wow, this almost sounds like meditation.
Yeah, it is. I think it's true when they say your craft becomes finer after you go through a heartbreak. Is because every heartbreak only brings you closer to who you really are. Because till the time it's happening, you're constantly picking wound mates. You're not picking soulmates.
Yeah. Wound mates. What's that? Please tell us.
So wound mates is a concept that it's just made up.
Oh.
But I think a partner that's going to help you heal a wound that you don't even know exists.
Oh, okay.
So for example, I was going through a lot of self-esteem issues. So I naturally picked a partner who wouldn't treat me the best with it. So that naturally triggered my internal self-respect. See, when I was doing it to myself, I was okay with
Yeah,
it.
of course.
But when someone else did that
Yeah.
to me, I was like, no.
Yeah.
You know, and then you just realize and you stand up for yourself, and once you've done it with one person that you claim to love, that issue is naturally gone, right?
Yeah.
You're never going to let someone else,
Yeah.
including yourself, treat you that way.
Yeah.
So that was my wound mate for my self-respect or self-esteem issues, and now they're gone.
Yeah. Also, I've noticed that I think, especially when in a romantic relationship, it's always in patterns. We keep picking the same kind of people again and again, and the intensity just keeps increasing of things not doing well. So it's good that you say that in your first experience you get to see this, probably because you're so attuned with what's happening inside you. And I think your art probably has turned into meditation, which is making you be so aware in general, to kind of like resonate with such incidences. So I think what essentially happens in relationships is it surfaces a lot of things inside you which on a daily basis you don't have triggers for. So once these things surface, what you do of it, then all your sadhana, like you said, the other day you mentioned that your art is your sadhana. So whatever sadhana that you do, it helps you to deal with the situation. I mean, a lot of us have a lot of issues and we have a lot of things which are so underlining. But once a relationship, which because you're emotionally so invested in this person and you become vulnerable to this person, it kind of brings things to surface. And I think if somebody who's doing sadhana in terms of art, dance, just meditation or whatever is their form of sadhana, the way of reacting to these things kind of falls in the right place, and hence next time you don't repeat the same pattern because it's gone inside you, and as a person hence you've evolved. So like wound mate, I totally understand, like till you haven't really cleared all your patterns which are not working for you or the people around you. And then I think when you all that and vibe inside you is clear, then you naturally attract people who suit you without all the film probably. For the lack of better word.
And it's always a lot easier to expect the other person to be right for you.
Correct.
The biggest point that we miss out is how can we be right for ourselves, and that's a huge vulnerable journey. And most of us pause or fall off the cliff in between the journey, and we're like, that's it, this is how much I can deal with, I can't take any more of this. But it doesn't work like that. Even if you think you can stop, the nature around us doesn't, till the time you don't get to the best version of yourself. And it's true, you know. And coming from a place of what you just said, that everything just as an artist or sadhana, for me is painting. So that's why my art is very close to my understanding of spirituality. Like if you see, everyone has their own ways of sadhana. They're doing it consciously or unconsciously, but the end goal is the same. You look at any religion or you look at any form of sadhana or anything, it's all of them are saying the same thing.
Yeah.
That's why there's no wrong and right in spirituality, right? Because even spirituality has a darker side to it, where we have these aghoris and all that. But you don't call it wrong. It's their path of going to it.
Fair enough.
And this is ours, and someone else will have a different way, you know.
Yeah.
So art is the same way. In art, there is nothing that's wrong and right. In design, there's nothing that's wrong and right.
Yeah.
So it's naturally the same thing,
Yeah.
but probably in a more physical form. Like you can't really show spirituality. Everyone has every religion has expressed their own ways of expressing that one particular journey.
Correct.
So art and design is again the same thing, but it just has a more physical form, a more human form.
Yeah. I think we as human beings are so afraid of even feeling any emotion. And just if we're going through a heartbreak, or if we're going through something which has disappointed us at work, or a rejection, the easiest thing to do is just pack it up and move on, That's why. But at some point it's going to crash, right? How much are you going to just brush under the carpet? You have to address things. And that's the most difficult part. I mean, brushing it is easy if you just distract yourself and get involved in what's in front of you. But this process of actually being like, it's okay. First is acceptance that it's okay that I'm feeling the way I'm feeling, it's okay that I'm rejected, and after that the process of dealing with it comes, right? So that's where the problem is, that okay, I've accepted it, now how do I deal with it, like how do I go through it? So what's your take on that? What do you think, like how do you go through it and get on the other side?
So for me to go through it is the easier part.
Okay.
Like I can just sit down in one room and just feel everything that I'm feeling, and I would journal, or I'll write down, or I'll speak to a wall, or I'll call and speak to somebody.
Bring it out in a way.
Yeah, I can very comfortably. In this space, I like consciously avoid painting, because then I'm going to start mixing my coping mechanism and what I love doing.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I can just sit and I can feel it all. Now the bigger part that comes after you felt it, then you have to accept that there's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
Now that takes a lot of time with me, because I came from an environment where I was told giving up is not an option. So I tend to cognitively apply that everywhere, to every person that I meet. So even if someone is not such a good idea for me, I'm like, but I'm not going to give up on you. And that lands me into really funny
and we don't
places.
even realize that when have we picked up this habit and where does it stem from, and mindlessly it's just become a pattern and a habit now, and we're just, that's the way of living, and that's reality for us. Unless it becomes like, hey wait, it's getting too much for me, there's some problem here that I need to address.
So then I just take myself away, and again very recently I've learned to just take a step back. Like I will communicate, I will write to the person or speak to the person, or I'll be like, listen, it's getting too much for me, so or you're really hurting me too much, and probably there's nothing you can do about it. So I'm just going to take a step back and disconnect, or avoid confrontation.
Or it's just actually drawing healthy boundaries, right? Because at that point, because things are so heated, there's really nothing you can do about it. Then cool off and then probably come back.
Yeah, but now this is again a very dependent situation. Like once I cool down and I might want to have a conversation, probably you wouldn't want to, because you've processed it differently, or you feel otherwise, or you've chosen to pack it and leave it there and move somewhere else. So once you go to cool down and you come back, you have to be okay with that person not wanting to sit with you and address it. So then again you're on. So basically I believe that life constantly brings you to crossroads, and you have to constantly make a choice. So once you come back from that space, and if the person is not willing to address it, you have to make a choice whether you're going to give that person the amount of time they need to come back to you, or you're going to move forward. And also, if you are allowing them some time, how do you define that time? Because most of the times we don't know how much time we are going to take to cool down. So how do you decide that for someone else? Probably you can ask the person that. But then that's again a very relative space.
No, I know what you mean. You mean that instead of depending on another person for answers, you accept the situation. Sometimes you don't get the answer. Sometimes the conversation is important. But again, you have to go back to understanding that this person who I'm expecting this from is not in a place or is not ready.
Or doesn't want to.
Have that conversation.
You have to be okay with people not wanting to. You have to be okay with people not choosing.
I think a lot of us get hooked on wanting answers. I know closure is important. I know wanting answers is very important. But sometimes you just don't get it.
But I think closure is a mind game. I think it's something that your brain has told you that it needs to feed on. But in reality, your body felt it. For example, when we all have been in that situation, we know it before that person's behavior has changed.
Correct.
Because the minute they were feeling differently, you were feeling differently. So you know. So closure is just a word that your brain has implanted in you, so that you constantly keep chasing something that was not dealt with before, because you backed and you moved on. You didn't sit and sort that bag and throw out the unwanted that you've been carrying around. So it's a mind game as per my personal opinion. I think you always know. You felt it, you've seen it, and the person's behavior is enough to tell you what they really want. So closure is not me. See, closure can just be a conversation or a letter. Probably someone has the time and the effort to put it down together. But beyond that, there's no closure. Like, you can't really have an answer to why a particular person behaved a particular way. Probably they also don't have an answer why they did it. So I think closure is just a cognitive activity that your brain wants you to go through, so it can take some time off from feeling too much.
I think this is something to really think about. Okay, long conversation about relations. Let's come back to art. And your time in Europe.
I was in Milan. I was in Italy.
I think you met your teacher there, right?
Yes.
So tell us more about that and your experience with art.
So you'll notice this eventually when, like, you've known me for a while, but every time I go back to that experience, there's this look on my face, like it's like that was the turning point for me. So it was again like every other big event in my life, just came out of nowhere. I didn't see it coming. I was there for studying. I was there on full scholarship. So actually I wanted to go to London to study. And this competition came my way, and I was like, let's do it. I'm just doing nothing anyways, kind of a thing. But I really put in a lot of hard work into it. And it got through. And they sent me an unconditional offer letter with 100% scholarship.
Oh, fab!
So I was like, okay. And then I remember bringing me up to my parents, like my mother. Cool. So I'm like, okay, so I'm moving countries. She's like, you should. So
that's very supportive of her.
She's one person I would say that has a huge impact on my ability to take risks and the catalyst behind the amount of freedom I have as a person and as a human being and as a woman. So she's been there for you. And she's too different to So I always address her as my parents. I never call her my mother because she's always played both the parts in equal. Probably she's more like a father than a mother. Emotionally actually at least. But yeah, she's played both the parts, so I always address as my parents, you know. But yeah, so she's like, yeah, you should go. And then I packed my bags and I went to Milan and I thought, oh, I'm just going to go there, study a little bit, party a lot, and just come back. That was the plan. But I met my mentor over there, and then yeah, suddenly I was studying and working at the same time.
What was his name?
So I was actually assisting Sir Robert Gill. He's a British. We lost him a year and a half back. He's a British. He used to be a British artist. He was in Milan for a very long time. And yeah, so I worked with him. I assisted him. Then I moved to London for a while. Then I was painting over there. I was learning, and you know.
How did that experience change your art? I mean, I'm sure you must be doing art before that as well.
So Milan was very different because absolutely new place. You don't know nobody, and at that point I was just an introvert. I just wouldn't talk to anybody till the time someone doesn't come and talk to me. So going out and chilling and making friends was very new ideas for me. I could have cordial conversations, but I would constantly want to go back home. Even in the university, it was like that. So he changed that for me, and you know, he actually like helped me get into my skin of how does it feel to be a woman. How does it, feel to dress up like a woman and stuff like that? So it changed me. It changed a lot in me as a person. It really got me close to how I would want to feel than how I should be feeling. And then yeah. So Milan was absolutely beautiful, life-altering, something that's the golden hour of my day in that sense. So beautiful, and yeah, food and wine and cheese, and I realized that's all I need in life. I don't need much.
So if you have to describe an artist's life, what would you say? How is it?
An artist's life looks like it's full of conveniences, but they have probably stepped on. So again, it looks like a house which is full of conveniences, but the way to that is a pathway of pebbles of every possible inconvenience. Being an artist is never like you wake up and then there is fame and then you're an artist. No, it's never like that. It's a series of things. Yeah, sure, one particular art piece gets blown out of proportion in terms of being acknowledged or being accepted. But there is a whole journey behind. There's a whole lifetime of work behind that. So even now when people ask me, oh, for you to be a young artist, your work is like the body of work is very large or something. I'm like, yeah, because I started when I was 4.
Yeah.
So if you want to count my career as an artist, you have to start from 4 to until now. You can't start from post-grad to until now. Because with the medium, I've spent a lifetime. Same with experiences, and I think as an educator also, I constantly bring that up with my students that start documenting your experiences. And when I say documenting, I'm not talking about going and making pictures and making reels. No, I'm talking about go back home and write that one word that one person made you feel. Like suppose today I've interacted with you and you made me feel a certain way, I should put it down.
Because you are logging your journey.
Yeah. Or whether you're going to a new place and that new place made you feel a certain way. Put it down, even if it's not like a whole essay, but 2 words, 3 words, 1 line. I think the most important thing that they need to inculcate is learning how to learn.
Definitely,
Learning how to learn is so important. And
then you can learn anything, right?
Exactly, but that point is missed because everyone is trying to teach the kids how to learn in a way that they think is right way to learn.
Of course,
But every kid is different, every brain is different, everyone's way to learn is different. So the only thing educators have to really do is inculcate a willingness in them to want to learn. Like something that how my mentor used to mention. He used to be like, we have to be like a sponge. The only job is to be like a sponge and go and absorb everything that you see around and you can learn from. And I think that one statement probably changed a lot in me at that point. But
Yeah.
I don't see a lot of educators practicing that
Yeah.
today, because learning how to learn, this concept doesn't exist. It's like you either learn or you don't learn.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And also, this brought me to a very interesting pet project that I recently started working on. Going back to where this idea came from, so it's called Historics India. So my grandfather raised me, and my fondest memory of him is packing bags and constantly traveling. And traveling to the most ancient archaeological historic places of importance in India only, very specifically, because he was very keen on driving around and waiting and meeting the local people and meeting the farmers and having a conversation and understanding the soil problems and everything, and understanding them emotionally and what's happening in their houses, and probably how someone else that he knows could be of help, or
the idea of travel right now is so stupid, right? Like people take flights and go and stay in 5-star hotels. The hotels are exactly the same in all the cities.
And they don't leave the property.
They don't leave the property. Most of them don't leave the property once back. And even if you're going to explore, you're doing sightseeing.
So someone else has curated a list without knowing you as a person or your interest.
Exactly. Now, if I take my mother for sightseeing, and she is not interested in history at all, but as a thing, like music,
as a place,
this is even if she goes there, I mean, it's not her interest anyway. But she loves to explore the food, so why not include that in your trip when you're actually going to experience another place? So even travel agencies these days, I mean, travel is such an experience in itself, right? It can change.
It's the most life-altering experience.
Exactly, and that kind of exuberance of traveling has been come to, you have to get up at 9 o'clock, the bus will be ready, and this is the itinerary. It cannot be like that.
No, it's a rat race.
Again, you just want to travel because everybody's traveling, and okay, what do I do? So I'll travel. But
are you taking anything back home?
Exactly. So I think people really need to change the way they are offering these travel experiences.
So Historics India is basically where we're trying to build a community which has the same ethic and principle and interest of travel. So it's not a travel company, we don't come up with any agendas, nothing. It's just a social it's just a social platform where we are an itinerary driven community. So we put out an itinerary every 3 months. So there are 4 trips that happen in a year, and we just put it out, and whoever's interested just joins it. And we have recommendations to make of how you can travel or where to stay or whatever, but it's each to its own kind of a thing, because everyone has their own budgets. And
so basically you would curate according to your liking of things, and the people who are similar to you, like let's say you as an artist would probably want to indulge more in the art and culture of the place you visit. So somebody who also is an artist, who's also inclined towards the things that you like, could just join you as a companion, not like she giving complete responsibility on you as a tour guide. It's a community exploration of
so it's basically exploring and understanding the art, the architecture, the culture, the food and the music in India, and have historic references, licensed guides, study material that you would want to take back home to read about, for people who come with this very niche interest motive towards traveling, where they would also want to use knowing your history and knowing your roots is another medium to look inside yourself. So that's what it is. So it's a pet project right now. It's at a very initial stage. We're just done with 2 of our trips. For me, when I was growing up with my grandfather, traveling was a constant learning experience. And when I lost him, that's what I realized, that's what he has left behind with me, is how to make travel and conversations with people a learning experience. So probably, that's what I would want to leave behind when I pass on.
That's a lovely thought. That's
Yeah.
an amazing thought. Yeah.
Thank you. So I think that's what I would want to leave behind for people. And I was like, since it's an idea, and I had a lot of encouraging friends who were like, no, go for it, including you. So I was like, okay, let's go for it. And we've started small, but I think it's very fulfilling.
I can imagine.
Yeah. Because I do design homes and I am an artist, but I can't pass on this set of skill. I could teach somebody,
Correct.
but I can just show. I can't really inculcate a skill in you. I can help you brush up what you have.
Yeah.
So this is definitely not something that I can leave behind for someone to learn from. But I think this community will probably be that thing.
When we're talking about travel, since I do consulting, I did have a client from the travel industry, and his personality was a little half-baked like that. He did have interest, but he told me that this cannot be monetized because obviously it's a long journey,
Correct.
right? So he wanted to still sustain himself financially, and so he used to do these run-of-the-mill trips.
Correct.
But he did that in the first year. Again, he got stuck because then he caught on to the trend tide where when people are saying, "Oh, I'm going to give you this experience," even that became very commercial. So even then he got stuck. So now in his 4th year, he finally came to me and we spoke about this. I think the best way I feel to do this is the way, if you've got into travel clearly in this industry, clearly most of them is because you love to travel.
Yeah.
And you have some heart in it.
Yeah.
But most of the times you forget to follow your heart and you just get onto the business aspect of it. There is a very good way to build a very, very monetizing and a fruitful business if you follow your heart. And the way to do that is, if let's say you as a person, you have certain interests and that nobody can replicate. The way you perceive things, the way what interests you, nobody can replicate that. It comes from very very inside, from you.
Yeah.
So when you perceive these things and you have gone and firstly explored yourself, you followed your heart, you will come across you'll come across gems, right?
Yeah.
And then it's a risk. I mean, this obviously, it's a slow process. During this process, you get to discover things in that. Then when you put it out there, you really don't know how much traction it's going to get or how soon the traction is going to come. And the traction will always be low because it's something different. It's not what you're offering to the masses. But what happens if you be patient and you actually, because you've got into travel, because you love it, give yourself those 3-4 years, whatever it is, to really discover your interest and your heart in it. And that then you have not as a selling point, but as connecting with somebody. Because in the end, you're selling an experience. You cannot sell an experience, you have to connect with an experience. So people who are in this space really need to understand that you cannot commercialize something which is not supposed to be commercialized. You're selling a chocolate, you're selling a shampoo, you're selling utilities. That's a very different thing. But if you're selling something which has heart in it, it cannot be sold. It only can be experienced. So you have to create an environment which is of experience. And when this hits, let's say in the 4-5 years, then nobody can move you. Then anyway the money comes, anyway the recognition comes, anyway you become a player, nobody can, competition doesn't affect you anymore because what you as a human being are is very unique. What you've created is so unique. You naturally draw people of your own, your own tribe basically. And from there the community stays, the money grows, your work becomes fulfilling, and during this journey you've grown so much as a person, your travel experiences become even more intense and even more deeper. So when he practiced this, so he took a sabbatical for a year, he was by himself, he explored the Himalayas by himself. And the way he's creating things now, I can see that he is much more fulfilled, he's getting a lot of traction. He got bored taking these oldies and couples and children who don't even know what travel is, who don't know what to do with this place. But they come in disrespected in a certain way. So, but you still have to do it, you still have to kill your spirit just for the business of it. But now when you're doing it out of interest, somebody else is even more interested, it really energizes the whole experience, and that is what it should be, So I think that's how I would look at travel.
Yeah. I think also you spoke like an artist, you cannot sell something that has a heart to it. see, money is the reality. It's the truth. But also money is also still energy exchange, right? Money is also in that sense transactional.
Yeah.
So someone's giving you money in exchange of your time or in exchange of your thought.
It's a reward.
Exactly.
In a worldly way.
It's an exchange again. It's a barter again. Now the thing is what I've realized is your intention with anything that you're doing. At least that's what I've seen with my work. Your intention matters. When your intention is pure and you're not chasing something, it's naturally a lot more. I would say it's a smoother sail. It's a safer sail.
Of course.
Like you're not drowning for sure.
And you have to win, you know?
Yeah, you're not drowning for sure. You're still going to be in the storm.
Yeah.
But you know you're not drowning.
Yeah.
That's one thing.
Yeah.
Another thing is when
it's a big thing.
Yeah. Another thing, no, for most of the people it's like if I'm sailing and if it's not a 7-bedroom yacht, then it's not worth it.
Yeah.
But the 7-bedroom yacht is going to be the first one that's going to drown.
Yeah.
When there's a storm.
Exactly.
You know, that's why there was a log of wood in Titanic. And there was one person on it, even if there was space for another person. That's how life is, you know. And I'm not going to come from this philosophical place of money is not important and all. No, it's damn important. Even if you think money is not important, it rules everything that's important.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
that's a
given.
There's no like argument and debate about it and trying to like put philosophy into it and trying to no, then you're foolish.
Yeah.
But my point of it is your intent matters.
Correct.
You know what's really your intention is what.
And that's what
matters.
people enjoy. You know, they get
now money being an energy exchange. It can feel your intent.
That's true.
So it has a flow.
That's very true. And then people keep wondering that why is money, and they become more aggressive about it and keep running away.
Exactly. And the third most important thing is when your work is an extension of yourself, rarely will your intention be bad. As human beings, we are very selfish like that. When it's a part of our personality or something we like, we're not bad with it. You know? So when your work is an extension of yourself, you can't be bad at it. But for that you need to know what all facades and what all is a part of your personality and what are your core values and what is really important for you. So I've heard a lot of people be like, no, you should find out what works for you or what ticks you. No, what is a part of your core? Who are you? You know, that is what is important. I feel.
And I think for every artist, I'm not just saying a painter, but every person who is by nature an artist, is a creative person, should let themselves just be and not worry about the conventional norms or having a certain way of living, because it's not for them. People who are naturally inclined in a certain way. What you want, see, all of us need acceptance, appreciation. We need the money, we need the social status, we need all of that. But it's a very conflicting place to be in for an artist, because one side the life is very different, it's very beautiful, and money comes with a lot of others. Economics comes with it's very cognitive, like we were discussing, right? And being an artist it's different intelligence. So I think my message to every person who's a creative and artistically inclined person is to just go completely dive deep inside their own psyche, their own personality, refine it as much as I can, discover it, chase it, and that's where you'll find the gold. That's where the satisfaction is. That's where everything that you want in the world will feel very small in front of that, because the joy of doing something that you love is much, much superior than social recognition or the money attached to it. Then these things don't even matter. But to understand this or to feel this, you have to reach a certain level, and for that the journey is within.
And the journey is tough. Like it's not roses.
100%.
It's not roses.
But you rather make this tough than
but you rather, like, as people who are in a conversation, we rather say it out then because everyone until now is, oh, it's not only roses, it's roses and thorns. No, there are no roses. I'm putting it like point blank out there are no roses in that journey. It's only thorns and thorns and thorns, and if you survive it and then blood is left, you'll live the life. It's that simple, man. But I think like especially with a lot of people I see around these days, they have so much anxiety. they're so anxious all the time, and it's very heartbreaking to watch that, because anxiety is, as it is, really harmful for your nervous system, for your,
it's
your
actually
brain capacity and all of that, for your memory. I've seen people having, like, they don't have like memory, like they're all gajni, so I'm just like, wow, these are like really crazy auto responses that your nervous system has.
Yeah.
But all this is just coming from that constant chase of wanting to fit in. The whole point is you shouldn't want to fit. The whole point is that being average is a lot more
Better than just trying to be like somebody else.
No, I'm just being like, being average is a lot more pressurizing than being different.
Yeah.
Because when
Exactly.
you're being different, you're just being yourself.
Right.
So that's the only job you have. But when you're being average, you're killing who you are.
Of course.
Then you're trying to replicate somebody that you may not even like, and then you're living with it. Oh my God, like,
Yeah.
can you imagine?
That's very and I think we don't need to complicate it this much.
Yeah.
Somehow I don't know that it could just be me. I feel that the entire system is designed to keep us tamed, which is also
Yes.
important for some people. I understand people have edgy personalities, but majority of the people are general average human beings, right?
Yeah.
So that taming completely kills their spirit.
I think it also comes from that whole perspective of when somebody is really different. I'm not talking different to a point where you'll be like worried, but really different. So everyone wants a piece of that. So just to not make the others feel bad, they've taught us to dim our shine. Because everyone will want a part of it. And everyone might not have a part of it, and then it becomes a chaotic situation anyway. But I think you rather live with in all your might and in full shine. And, it's like one conversation that I had with somebody I deeply admire and love in that sense. We were having dinner, and my mentor happens to ask me a question, where he's like, if you have a relationship with a man who is probably everything that you've been, you've grown up watching, and then you have a man that is probably going to be around for a bit, but it comes with intense experience, what would you choose? And I said, I don't know, my heart makes me want to say what is for a lesser amount of time, but really intense. And he's like, then that's what you should do. But I said, I thought you would say that this is wrong, So he's like, no, this is what your heart needs right now. And probably into those few experiences, you will naturally reach a stage where you'll be okay with having what you need, in that sense, on a more stable and subtle way. So he put it out saying that your heart has to break multiple times till it opens up.
Right. Yeah.
And then when you have an open heart, you really come across people that are very fulfilling. So whether as family, as friends, as partners, as work colleagues, then it's just more endured. It naturally becomes a nurturing space. You don't have to go around looking for what to do to get nurtured. You're just in that space because your heart is open.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, Abu, we've spoken about a bunch of things, from you being an artist to travel to relationships to energy exchange. I think this conversation has been amazing.
I loved it. And I think a lot of it has to do with how you feel as a human being. I think I've known you for very long, but you make someone feel very comfortable in letting them just be. And thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you, Abu. Thank you for doing this.